Okay, thank you. See you later, Chris. Hi, guys. Well, welcome to another special episode of the Meeting of the Minds with Jessie Lee. Um, today I wanted to touch base on a new experience that I've had recently with Kava. In case some of you don't know out there, Kava is a root and it is made into a tea-like beverage. It's brewed, and it's usually drunk to help relieve anxiety, to give you a sense of well-being. It's got some pretty strong effects, actually. Uh, it can feel very intoxicating, similar to that of maybe an alcohol buzz, except I wouldn't say that it brings about such a negative release of behavior like you see a lot. You tend to still kind of know your limits um, when you come up out of your intoxication from it. You do learn from your past experiences with alcohol. I've noticed that even though we may tend to realize that it doesn't do something good for us, we tell ourselves we're not going to do that again. We end up doing that again. And what I've noticed in my new experience with Kava is that it actually helps me know a limit and stick to when I say that's enough, I need to take a break, I need to lay off. I actually find the restraint to do it. There's not this call in the back of my mind, like with alcohol, that says, come back, come back. You need me in order to continue on. I don't feel that it leaves you with that psychological feeling, but it does feel really good. As an empath, hold on, you're going to want to watch this before you do, so replay this, bro. Because as an empath and as somebody with intuitive abilities, especially someone who has been able to read tarot cards, you have to be careful when it's a new experience with this, because if you good night and sweet dreams, Chris. Dreaming is important, you know. If you are empathic and intuitive, well, they kind of go hand in hand, but I don't think that everyone that functions with their intuition is also empathic. And I do believe, though, that everyone that is empathic has a strong intuition. Now, the thing about that is that a lot of people may not realize that they are, in fact, empathic. Okay, slow down. What's that word? An empath is someone that can sense another person's energy. Not just sense it, but even zero in on at least the roundabout subject matter. Some empaths, actually, no, I won't say some. I'll say Empaths that have connections to certain people can even zero in further and get more clear view as to exactly why someone's energy is a certain way, whether it's good or bad. Um, these different levels of empathy don't always come with knowledge on how to direct it or tune in to it in such a way that you realize these aren't your emotions you're feeling. If you're not knowledgeable in that, you will actually take on those emotions yourself. You'll feel the anger, you'll feel the stress, you'll feel the joy. And it can be quite confusing. It can make a person do one of these numbers with emotions in their own self. I think there's a lot of people out there that go through bipolar, maybe more because they're empathic and not mentally ill. And I think maybe that if they learned about what empathy is, how it comes, what it feels like, I think a lot of people can come right up out of what this bipolar feeling is like. Now, Kava, I found actually had an effect on me in these areas of intuition and empathy. It actually caught me off guard. Much like the cyclist over there. When it caught me off guard in a way that I didn't quite expect. When people would come around me after doing it a couple of nights in a row as a newbie, it felt like I could feel physically my external bubble. It also felt like my external bubble was expanded. Now, I know a lot of you who don't even understand what psychic ability is, you understand what an external bubble is. You understand what your personal space is and what it feels like when someone comes into that space and they haven't even touched you. You feel them when they're behind you. You turn around and you notice that. Even if you didn't hear them. Okay, well, guess what, guys? That is your intuition. That is your empathic abilities, tuning in to your surroundings. It's working on a subconscious level. It's part of your mind. It's part of the structuring even of your brain for the physical connection into the body. Guys, it's that is the beginning of learning how to tune in or tune off, is becoming aware of that personal space. You can expand a lot of your ability. Any average person, even those who think they're below average, don't sell yourselves short. You can expand your abilities to understand the world around you better, by tuning in to that personal bubble. Now, the thing that we don't want to do is create this defense wall. And this defense wall is sort of like when someone comes to that personal bubble, even if like your bubble is like way back here, okay? They even look in your direction, and you can feel this, this bubbling. And the thing about that is we've built up a defense wall in our energy system. That defense wall is harmful. Period. We think that it's a good thing. Let's guard ourselves from the world. Let's turn off our abilities. It's not necessarily good because we can dull ourselves. That's dangerous. Because these abilities are set there so we can understand if there's danger. But they're not there for us to be having an animosity towards someone coming in your direction or looking in your direction. Yet all of our negative experiences that we as human beings hang on to, they produce this. When they produce this, this is what we call our armor. And our armor actually, in fact, is robbing us of good relationships, robbing us of amazing experiences. It even pushes away people that we care about. Why do I talk about these things and keep diverting back? I need people to understand, maybe who don't know what empathy is or how they may have it, because everyone does. I need some people who don't know about this stuff to understand it in a way that's not technical. Before we move on to Kava, I haven't forgotten. If you work on sensing your personal bubble, your personal space, and also sensing someone's coming into it, your eyes are closed, you can feel this, and you sense it, you open your eyes. There they are. What is the next thing you feel? Is it, oh, they scared me? Or is it, ooh, a person to talk to? A connection? Or, ooh, I sensed that. One way or another, something causes you to open your eyes and a person's standing there, and either A, you're spooked, or B, you are like, wow, that was kind of cool. In those moments, it's good to practice not demonizing, as I heard a person say in the background in another conversation, not demonizing the presence that your intuition picked up something in your personal bubble. The thing is to practice an excitement that something was felt. You opened your eyes in that moment for a reason. You felt them. A lot of you can understand what I'm talking about, even if you've never studied psychic stuff. Even religious people have run into things like this. So even the Orthodox, don't get your panties in a bunch, because you have been given these things. They're part of the way you have been designed. You are miniatures of the Creator. The Creator has this omniscience. For you scientific buffs, the universe seems to have this omniscience. As population is increasing in this world, we've got volcanoes exploding suddenly, creating more land structure. Okay, wow. We're ingenuitive enough, guys. We can do stuff with brand new rock on the ground. It's not ruined. So, in that light, if the universe is ever expanding due to the need for it, and it knows, it's conscious of it all over the place, so are we. And there are things that when people put up these walls, these defense walls, and they're on a spiritual path, it can be an interesting encounter when you run into something like Kava. Kava is not like, it's not a hallucinogenic. Doesn't make you hallucinate, doesn't make you see things. And Kava does not take away all of your inhibitions. But Kava does help you relax into who you are. And maybe even so much so that those of us who've put up these defense walls may find that their experiences with Kava tend to bring down those walls sort of all at once. And if you're not expecting something like that, if you're not ready, well, I'm on stairs, by the way. If you're not expecting something like that, I'll tell you that it's quite a ride. Even when, like a few days afterwards. Now, I want to get into my experience as someone who's empathic and highly intuitive, who does not necessarily know how to control it. Nor do I always realize when I'm actually using it. Sometimes I get lucky and realize, yeah, okay, that was that. Most of the time, though, it's kind of... Now, I have been working on trying to bring down these defense walls for a while. So, running into this experience that I'm about to talk about and share with you isn't deterring me from continuing down a road. It's intriguing me, actually. And I feel that it is wise for people to know what they might run into, so that they don't run in the other direction, especially if they haven't been working on bringing down their walls and they just want to relax, and they might be empathic and intuitive. It is a great experience. I don't recommend going 3 nights in a row if you might be empathic and intuitive. But I do recommend making a night of it for the experience, and a chance to maybe let yourself shine for a little while. And not in the way that alcoholics do it. Trust me. It's way more natural than that in the person's personality. So I began to notice, I did it 3 nights in a row. And I haven't done it for a couple days now. So this is a 5-day span of time frame as a newbie of doing kava that I'm now making this video. And in that span of time, I've noticed some very interesting things. One, the fact that I've noticed was interesting enough. Okay, there is someone here. Hi, whoever that was or is. Good to have you. And so this 5-day span that I'm standing in right now, this is the 5th day. It has been almost like having road rash. It's a kind of a harsh way of explaining it in a way. But like I said, if you don't realize what is about to take place inside with what kava can do, I do believe that there is something. I think that there's a plant teacher in that root. And that plant teacher, I think, had a little bit of an interaction with me. The spirit of a plant, when you take a plant into your body, I believe that you're not just taking in its nutrients. I think that you're also taking in its information. That a plant may be designed by the universe, by the creator, to get us closer to our true selves. Our true selves is not this flesh body. Our true selves shows through our aspirations in life. Our desires of how we see the world taking place. Now, my walls that I've been working on bringing down, they were being affected by the effects of the kava. I was at first painfully aware that there was a lot going on around me. Yet at the same time, I also found that I was excited about the moment. And this was a good experience that I was having, that I was that aware of everything. one thing that I've noticed in trying to discover who I am, self-discover, one thing I noticed is that I feel dulled out to the world, to my environment, people, like there's this lack of a connection. And having this experience has kind of, the bringing down of those defense walls kind of allowed the energies to actually penetrate my personal bubble. And it was really neat. Like that first night, it was like, wow, this is spectacular. And it really was. And I mean, I was actually, Kava relaxes you, but I was so charged from that experience that I had a hard time sleeping that night, actually. And when when I woke up the next day and I really reflected, I was like, okay, I got to do this again. And I went back the next night. And now, it was more crowded and more energetic. And again, it was an amazing experience. But I noticed I kind of overdid it on the amount that I'd had. Kava has a reverse tolerance. So it's almost like when you begin Kava, you already have a tolerance. And when you do the Kava, it breaks your tolerance down. So that in the beginning, you do enough of it. You have to do a certain amount, basically, that will get this tolerance to just go. And when you get there, you need less and less till like you really only need it maybe once a week or so. I mean, it does. You don't need more. It's not like alcohol where you need more. It's not like other stuff where you need more. This you're just like, whoa, no, I'm good. I'll have something a little different tonight. You still feel that relaxed state. Your senses though are still open at that point. I can't put my wall back up. I've run into moments where naturally I'm on a natural high. Something's happened and it brings me into that state. The walls come down, I feel everything, but then they can come back up. Not like that with this. I've noticed that it's probably good medicine for people that want to tap more in to their empathy, their intuition, and maybe even have some dreams. If you miss dreaming, I would say try some Kava for a little bit. Get your things down, get your walls down. I actually had a very short snippet of a dream last night, and like it's the first one I've had, and I honestly don't know. And I was aware of what it was, and it was strange. And random, seemingly, but not so random. And really cool that I got to have that dream. Because I woke up and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, stuff is processed. I actually, for the first time, this 5-day period, feel a little more relaxed. I can still feel everything around me. And I have to be careful that I don't get this irritable feeling. Because it's like having new skin. I'm sure many of you have had some deep wound or something, and it's got to heal up with new skin, and that new skin is just kind of really sensitive, but that's good, and that at some point it's going to be good skin like all the rest. Well, that's kind of what it is, I think, for me. This slight irritable, I have to be on irritation watch. And I think that's a good thing. It's pushing my limits, and it's helping me expand where I'm going in my life. The other interesting thing about the kava that I noticed was in my second night of having it, I ran into an old friend who doesn't live in town. It was interesting that we happened to show up the same night, and she was only here for just that evening, and we got to catch up. And I won't go into any details about our conversation, but I will tell you this. She said something, just something very short, and it didn't really lead into much of anything that would give anybody any knowledge of anything happening in her life. Kind of more like an intro sentence to something. And suddenly I found myself rattling off the exact things that she was about to tell me about this particular topic that she was about to bring up. And she was shocked. I was shocked.
I think I did it.
And I immediately, physically, within here, felt this, like almost this energetic rush up. And it caused me to speak more on the subject.
I'm sorry.
And it astonished both of us, I think, that I cued in that deep, that accurately on something that on things that they've taken huge changes since the last time we met. And there would have been no way for me to know that. And to know what kind of changes. And the fact that that was what was coming up and out of my mouth. It was essentially like I was giving her a tarot card reading. And I made a joke, and I said, I should have brought my cards. Yeah, I do have a deck. That's something that not everyone actually knows until probably right now. I actually really don't use them. I have them. And even when I'm putting a layout for somebody, I'm really not using them. They are the diversion for the person that I'm talking to in the moment, so that the person can focus on the cards and not on the fact that I'm focused on them. So I made a joke. Maybe I should have brought them, because it was kind of awkward for me. I didn't expect this. And now, the next day, I realized I haven't been mindful. Something started clicking where maybe I've been blocking myself a little bit, which is being mindful of me. While also attempting to be mindful of others. And the experience with this kava, it feels almost as if it's opened up some blocks that I have seen but not understood. And I feel that, all in all, if you are empathic, if you are intuitive, if you're having blocks, if you're trying to come up and out of these things, maybe heal. Sometimes a full immersion of dropping those guards might be necessary. The shock value. And an experience with kava a couple nights in a row could very well do that to you. And for you, if that's what you seek. It will carry out. Your mind will process the experience instead of forget about it. It works different. I can't explain why, but it does work different. Be careful. It's a diuretic. It's hard on the kidneys and liver, pretty much like alcohol. I think what I actually read was about half the amount, but it was still heavy. So, drink a lot of water. Take some time between your drinks with the kava. And just take your time, Don't rush. Make a night of it. Be careful about driving under its influence. You may want to wait. You may want to go take a nice walk for a while so you can clear yourself. But all in all, it's really good, I believe, for those that are having a difficult time accessing their more deeper nature, and being able to let loose of their negative outlook on themselves even, and on others. I mean, the environment of a place like that was pretty interesting in the sense that it felt like being at a bar, but honestly, everyone seemed to be connecting. I watched it from a distance. Everyone seemed to be connecting. Everyone was smiling, laughing, really conversating, really paying attention to each other even. I barely saw any phones out actually in that place. I'm not kidding. A couple times. But Barely. People were actually honoring one another. And you don't see that in a bar. You don't always see that in a coffee shop, even. There's a lot of places where most everyone's on their phones. This was the one thing that took me, that I noticed. One of the tiny things that most people probably wouldn't notice. This is one of the tiny things I noticed. Everyone interacting. That made me really understand the benefit behind this really awesome drink. Don't get that confused with the way it tastes. To each his own in the flavor department, but I've heard it said, we don't drink it for the flavor. We drink it for its effect. So, I agree in that. But if there are people that have been trying to deal with their issues by numbing out with alcohol, and they want a safer way of dealing with their issues, maybe not by having to numb out, but actually being able to take it in. Kava's a good switch. A lot of people, they feel self-empathy, and it drives them to addiction. There is empathy, but it's a internal self status. That's kind of the poor me mindset, and I mean, I'm one of those previous, and it is empathy, but it's turned inward to you, to your own self. That's when you're focusing on everything you lost. When you're focusing on the pain of a relationship ending, and you won't come out. You're just in. And in the coming out, we actually open ourselves up to the possibility of healing. Because we human creatures, we're designed that we could either be parasitic in this world, literally, or symbiotic. Anyone seen the movie Avatar? Remember that idea of the trees and that planet and that species? How they connected in with their hair? Their souls went to that tree. They didn't die. Don't you guys remember that? And you remember that when those connections were severed, everything turned into... Okay? Look around you. Look at your world. That's happening. The more that we're on these things, yeah, okay, here I am, but I'm trying to reach you. Trying to reach you in the ways that you all tend to communicate these days. Because face-to-face seems to be a little difficult. Why? Because we're separating ourselves from this great beauty. Look at that. Look. Okay. Look where I am. Isn't this cool? All right, I'm in a little town. This does not surround us, really. This was put in by the college. We're connected to all of this. Me and you. But the thing is that when we're in this new age environment of concrete, and we're knocking down all the nature that's around us, we're also taking away our symbiotic nature to this place. We're taking away the energy source that we're supposed to be connected to, and it's like a circle. And when we do that, not only is the trees around us falling apart and the rain is drying up in some places, and oh, don't even tell me about the fires. I mean, I'm in Cali. When these things are taking place, it's also taking a drain on us. The more aggressive that our species has become and self-orientated instead of all-orientated, others and self, you can't separate that. When you separate that, you lose your energy. Okay? What I noticed in that kava bar was this brought that separation back into connection. It brought me into a connection that I didn't expect. I mean, I can sense more of what's around me now than I have been able to in a long time. And at first it's kind of scary, but you can use this new information you're getting to help you navigate where you're heading in your life, where you're heading in relationships with people, where you're heading with the world, the planet that you're living on, and the trees and all of that. When you connect, all of that starts to move in connection to it. When you disconnect, it all spins out. And it's something that I have been noticing since I have been walking a spiritual path over the last 7.5 years. And actually, we're going on 8 years. All this time, I've always felt this cloud just sitting. I feel that it thins sometimes, that it thins a little bit, but it's there, and it's preventing stuff from that should be coming, preventing it from coming. Now it feels like the cloud is broken. And I can sense things on a much higher level. It's like something's been heightened. I'm in the Arboretum right now because I'm enjoying the energies that I'm feeling from the trees and the water and the grasses, all the different plants that are together in harmony, the birds that are singing. It's why I chose to do this episode here. And the thing is that I've noticed I have been so cut off from Mother Earth that, and for so long. And the experience with the kava suddenly has brought to mind what has been missing. And it can enlighten you. It's great for social circumstances, but I actually advocate it more actually for people that they have a harder time being who they are. And they might think that alcohol might help, or maybe marijuana might help. Why don't you try some kava? Because it can make you can feel that way actually, even when it has subsided. I do think that it does something up here in a positive, beneficial way. That will have to be something I look up. See if any research has been done on that. But it almost feels like my brain is being rearranged in a good way. And I'm feeling much more creative spark happening, and even the energy to go do it. Not just to sit there and dream about it, but do it. And so these are the things that I have been experiencing since I tried that stuff, since I had that experience. And yeah, I think definitely it's something I'm going to maybe add in as a spiritual practice, a spiritual custom even, and also as a social thing. Having the social with the spiritual, the fellowshipping, that's an important aspect of life. That when you can really have the connection, and it's not just, some superficial moment, but you actually can really deeply connect and have that moment with a friend, with someone that you have that conversation and you're like, that was a good night. Whereas unlike other times you're just playing a game of pool and no one's really talking about much of anything, there's really not the connection except who wins or loses the game. I mean, there's a different feeling. There's one that's, okay, yeah, I went out, I did this, same old stuff. And then there's this one where, wow, someone understood me, I got them. We actually connected. No one pulled their phones out. It was a fun environment. And I don't feel like I don't feel like crap the next day. And I feel inspired and ready to take on that next day. That doesn't happen a lot. Now, maybe it's just me. maybe I'm just enamored with kava, but maybe I'm not. I did do a little bit of looking up on other people's experiences that believe that they're empaths, and I saw that they were experiencing a lot of the same things that I am experiencing talking to you about right now. I went into a chat forum, an empathic chat forum. Okay, maybe it's like Inquirer magazine online type of info. I don't know, but I wanted to quickly see, is anyone else going through what I was going through? And I found a little chat thing of a few different people having a pretty streamlined, really good conversation that was easy to follow comment per comment. And yeah, I gotta say it felt like it hit kind of home. So that's kind of why I want to put this one out. I mean, I'm sorry if I have long pauses in my speech, as I'm trying to actually think of the right way to word these things, because it's hard to use language for things that are intuitively sensed and feelings and such. And to try to bring that down into what it kind of feels like here and in here for a person who is going through these things as an empath who's shut off or this or that. You know, if you're not expecting this to happen and you accidentally go out for some kava and these things start coming upon you, like, what's going on? This, just chill. Remember that you're empathic. Remember you have shut down. And start looking up what the kava does to someone who's empathic. Because those who have empathy and intuition as primary functions in their unique existence, they should know these things. Because if it's caught off guard, it can be quite uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable and you don't know why, that can cause all kinds of other negative emotions, and those cause negative side effects in your mind, in your emotions, in your nerves. And it can lead you down some rabbit hole thinking. But, you know, if you're tuned in enough and you really don't want to go down some rabbit hole, you know, do some information seeking before you do something. You know, unless you're a mushroom eater, it's a joke. I attempt things to get the experience to understand what happens, I guess you could say. And I'm a kind of all or nothing person. I will do a lot of asking about what it feels like physically on stuff, and then from there, everything else I just jump in. So this experience, you know, I didn't do any research on what does it do for an empath, yet now I intuitively feel that I should put this out here, because it could be a great tool, or it can make you feel a little irritable and not you not knowing why, go off, you know, you don't feel as in control afterwards sometimes if you have these traits. Because it's like removing a top layer of skin from you. And it opens up your perception. It opens up your sixth sense. It opens up your ability to be more aware. And those that go through their life without much awareness, and there are people that do, it can be an interesting experience if they're not prepared for what that may entail. So, I hope I haven't scared anyone away from Kava. Actually, that's my intention. I think that it is an excellent thing and should be looked into if your stomach can handle it. I think that Kava is definitely not your average tea. And that should be used responsibly. And that I think that it's something that you don't have to go out to the social scene to do, because it is such an interesting experience. Kava, you should try on your own, like get into trying to make that, or go to a local food place, local co-op, whole foodie thing, and one where they sell herbs and stuff, and get yourself a concentrate of kava, and use that, in a medicinal way, because it can make you feel a lot less anxious, when it's at the right levels with you. It gives you definitely a sense of well-being, and you don't have to keep adding more into your life to receive its benefits. As I said, it's reverse tolerance. So when you're putting that into your practice in life, whatever your practices are, you'll find that you won't need a lot over the time. You'll just need a little. And in just needing a little, it's economical in that aspect. And not only is that economical, but it's good medicine. It helps you view your experiences a little differently. And I usually have a problem with negative mind chatter. This is another thing I want to add in before I cut this short. One thing I noticed this week, when the negative mind chatter wants to come in, it's been really simple to go, nope, just be you, and move about my day. It hasn't been as difficult. And that feels like a benefit. So, there you go. I hope it wasn't too boring. Um, and I hope that you guys have a good day. I hope you guys try kava. I hope you guys pay attention to your personal bubble, especially when you're doing that. And don't rob yourself of experience. And from here on, I'm going to say love, light, and shalom.